20 R&B stars you didn't know passed away. They gave us timeless music, unforgettable voices, and moments that shaped generations. But many of them left this world quietly, broken, or far too soon. Fame didn't save them, talent didn't protect them, and success didn't guarantee peace. Behind the gold records were stories of pressure, illness, isolation, and systems that took more than they gave. On Black Excellence Legends, we don't just celebrate the spotlight, we reveal what happened after it faded. Stay with us, because these stories challenge everything we think we know about legacy. And when you hear the truth, don't just watch, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Frankie Lymon. Frankie Lymon was one of the earliest pop prodigies in American music history, and also one of its most heartbreaking losses. Born in 1942, Lymon rose to fame before he was even a teenager as the lead singer of Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers, a doo-wop group that helped bridge rhythm and blues into the mainstream. At just 13 years old, his voice powered the 1956 hit, "Why Do Fools Fall in Love?", which climbed into the top 10 and sold millions of copies worldwide. The song's success turned Lymon into a national sensation almost overnight. He appeared on major television programs, toured relentlessly, and became one of the first Black teenage stars to cross racial and generational boundaries in popular music. Yet the industry had no blueprint for protecting a child star. Contracts were exploitative, royalties were mismanaged, and adult supervision was minimal. While record labels profited, Lymon's financial security remained fragile. As his voice matured, commercial interest faded. By his late teens, Lymon was struggling to transition into adulthood while still being treated as a novelty act. During this period, he was introduced to heroin, an addiction that would dominate the rest of his short life. Repeated attempts to recover were undermined by lack of support, legal troubles, and constant financial stress. Despite brief comebacks and solo releases, Lymon never regained the stability he lost as a child. His earnings were inconsistent, and his personal life was marked by dependency and isolation. On February 27, 1968, Frankie Lymon was found dead in New York City from a heroin overdose. He was just 25 years old. Frankie Lymon's story is not simply about talent undone by addiction. It is about a system that consumed a child's voice and discarded the person behind it. He helped open doors for future generations of young Black artists, yet received little protection himself. Remembering him honestly means confronting how early fame, exploitation, and neglect can intersect with devastating consequences. His voice remains timeless. His life is a warning history should never ignore. Tammi Terrell. Tammi Terrell was a radiant talent whose life was cut tragically short, leaving behind music that still echoes with joy and heartbreak. Born in 1945, Terrell entered the music industry at a young age, first recording as a solo artist before finding her true breakthrough at Motown Records. Her voice carried warmth, clarity, and emotional balance, qualities that made her an ideal duet partner during one of soul music's most celebrated eras. Terrell reached superstardom through her legendary collaborations with Marvin Gaye. Together, they recorded a series of timeless hits including Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Your Precious Love, and You're All I Need to Get By. These songs dominated R&B charts in the late 1960s and helped define the sound of romantic soul. Their chemistry felt effortless, symbolizing hope, intimacy, and youthful optimism. Behind the scenes, however, Tammi Terrell was fighting a silent and devastating battle. In 1967, she collapsed on stage during a performance in Virginia, later diagnosed with a brain tumor. Over the next several years, she endured multiple surgeries and aggressive treatment, all while attempting to continue working when physically possible. Medical bills mounted, and her career momentum was abruptly halted. Unlike many artists whose struggles came from addiction or scandal, Terrell's tragedy was rooted in illness and inadequate medical protection for performers. Despite her success, financial security was limited, and Motown's support did not fully shield her from the physical and emotional toll of her condition. Tammi Terrell died on March 16, 1970, at just 24 years old. Her death shocked the music world and deeply affected Marvin Gaye, who withdrew from performing for months afterward. Though her life was brief, her impact was immense. Tammi Terrell's legacy is not defined by how she died, but by how brightly she lived. Her voice continues to represent innocence, promise, and the cruel reality of a future that never had time to arrive. Florence Ballard. Florence Ballard was not just a member of the Supremes, she was the group's original foundation. Known as Flo, Ballard possessed a powerful, gospel-rooted voice that anchored the group's early sound. When the Supremes formed in Detroit, it was Ballard who led rehearsals, shaped harmonies, and carried much of the vocal weight before fame arrived. In the early 1960s, the group became Motown's crown jewel, scoring multiple #1 hits and breaking racial barriers in mainstream pop. As success grew, internal dynamics shifted. Motown increasingly centered Diana Ross as the group's focal point, while Ballard's role was reduced. Contract disputes, lack of creative control, and growing emotional strain followed. By 1967, Ballard was removed from the group entirely, losing not only her career momentum, but her primary source of income. The aftermath was devastating. Despite being part of one of the most successful girl groups in history, Ballard received minimal financial security. She struggled with severe depression, alcoholism, and housing instability, at times relying on public assistance to support her children. Attempts to restart her career were repeatedly undermined by health issues and lack of industry backing. Florence Ballard died in 1976 at just 32 years old, officially from heart-related complications linked to stress and substance abuse. Her death shocked fans who assumed Motown's success guaranteed lifelong security. Ballard's story exposes a harsh truth. Pioneering artists can still be discarded once they become inconvenient. She helped build a legacy that generated millions, yet was left without protection. Remembering Florence Ballard means restoring credit to a woman whose voice shaped history, even as history failed to protect her. Donny Hathaway. Donny Hathaway was one of the most gifted soul musicians of his generation, combining technical mastery with emotional depth few could match. A classically trained pianist and gifted arranger, Hathaway bridged gospel, jazz, and R&B with rare sophistication. Songs like A Song for You, This Christmas, and his duets with Roberta Flack remain pillars of soul music decades later. Behind the brilliance, Hathaway lived with paranoid schizophrenia, a diagnosis that deeply affected his adult life. At a time when mental illness was poorly understood and heavily stigmatized, especially for Black artists, Hathaway received inconsistent treatment. Periods of clarity were followed by episodes of paranoia and fear, often intensified by exhaustion and stress from touring. Despite his condition, Hathaway continued recording and performing, determined not to be defined by illness. However, the pressure of deadlines, lack of adequate mental health care, and growing isolation took a severe toll. Friends recalled moments when he believed people were trying to harm him, including those closest to him. On January 13, 1979, Donny Hathaway died after falling from a hotel window in New York City. He was 33 years old. Authorities ruled the death a suicide, though the tragedy remains deeply tied to untreated mental illness rather than intent alone. Hathaway's death was not the result of addiction or scandal, but of a system unprepared to protect artists with mental health challenges. His music continues to offer comfort, clarity, and spiritual depth, proof that genius can coexist with vulnerability. Remembering Donny Hathaway honestly means acknowledging both his unmatched artistry and the urgent need for mental health support that he never truly received. Minnie Riperton. Minnie Riperton was a once-in-a-generation vocal phenomenon whose artistry combined technical brilliance with emotional purity. Trained in classical music and opera, Riperton possessed a 5-octave vocal range, allowing her to move effortlessly between soft intimacy and breathtaking high notes. Before solo stardom, she sang background vocals and worked with artists across Chicago's soul scene, quietly sharpening her craft. Her breakthrough came in the mid-1970s with the album Perfect Angel, produced by Stevie Wonder. The single, Lovin' You, reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming one of the most recognizable love songs in pop and R&B history. Unlike many chart hits, its simplicity highlighted vulnerability rather than spectacle, showcasing Minnie's ability to communicate deep emotion with restraint. At the height of her success, tragedy struck. In 1976, Riperton was diagnosed with breast cancer and given a limited prognosis. Rather than retreat, she chose transparency. Minnie became one of the first major artists to publicly discuss her illness, using her platform to raise awareness about women's health at a time when such conversations were rare. Despite declining health, Riperton continued recording and performing as long as physically possible. Her later work carried increased urgency, reflecting both gratitude and grief. Financially and emotionally, she faced challenges common to artists battling illness: medical costs, physical exhaustion, and the awareness that time was limited. Minnie Riperton died in 1979 at just 31 years old. Her loss stunned the music world, not only because of her talent, but because of the grace with which she faced mortality. Her voice continues to influence generations of singers, and her courage reshaped how artists speak about illness. Minnie Riperton's legacy is not defined by how short her life was, but by how deeply she lived through music, even as time was taken from her. Philipe Wynne. Philipe Wynne was the emotional backbone of the Spinners during their most successful era, a vocalist whose intensity and vulnerability elevated group soul to dramatic heights. Joining the group in the early 1970s, Wynne's expressive delivery transformed songs into lived experiences. His voice carried urgency, heartbreak, and raw honesty, qualities that helped define the Spinners' signature sound. During his tenure, the group produced classics such as Could It Be, I'm Falling in Love, One of a Kind, Love Affair, and Then Came You. These records dominated R&B radio and crossed into mainstream pop, selling millions and securing the Spinners' place in soul history. Wynne's performance style, often bordering on theatrical, made live shows especially powerful. Despite success, Wynne struggled with substance abuse, an issue that intensified under the pressures of touring and industry expectations. Tensions grew within the group, leading to his departure in the late 1970s. While he continued working as a solo artist and collaborator, the stability he once had was difficult to maintain. Health problems followed years of physical strain and addiction. In 1984, while performing on stage in California, Wynne collapsed during a concert. He was pronounced dead shortly afterward at the age of 43, reportedly due to heart complications. The suddenness of his death shocked fans and fellow musicians alike. Philipe Wynne's story reflects a familiar pattern: extraordinary talent paired with limited long-term protection. His voice helped create a golden era of soul music, yet his personal struggles remain largely unaddressed. Remembering Wynne honestly means honoring both his vocal brilliance and the human cost of sustaining greatness in an unforgiving system. His performances live on, not as nostalgia, but as proof that emotion, when sung honestly, never fades. Sylvester. Sylvester was more than a disco icon. He was a fearless pioneer who reshaped how identity, freedom, and joy could sound in music. Rising in the late 1970s, Sylvester's falsetto soared across dance floors with an emotional intensity that felt both celebratory and defiant. Hits like You Make Me Feel, Mighty Real became anthems not only of disco, but of liberation, especially within Black and LGBTQ+ communities who rarely saw themselves centered in mainstream music. His artistry stood out because it rejected compromise. Sylvester embraced gender fluidity and flamboyance at a time when doing so invited ridicule, censorship, and danger. Rather than soften his image, he amplified it, turning visibility into resistance. Musically, his records blended gospel roots with electronic dance rhythms, creating a spiritual intensity that separated him from novelty-driven disco trends. In the early 1980s, as disco fell out of commercial favor, Sylvester's mainstream presence declined. Yet he remained deeply connected to his audience, particularly within club culture and queer spaces. Behind the scenes, his health deteriorated. In 1986, Sylvester was diagnosed with AIDS, at a time when stigma, fear, and misinformation dominated public discourse. Medical options were limited, and public empathy was scarce. Sylvester died in 1988 at 41 years old. In his final days, he asked that his funeral raise awareness about AIDS, turning his death into a final act of advocacy. His courage reframed how artists could confront illness publicly, without shame. Sylvester's legacy lives in every artist who refuses to dilute their truth. He didn't just make people dance, he made visibility powerful, joy radical, and authenticity unstoppable. Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman possessed one of the richest, most controlled voices in soul and jazz. A voice capable of elegance, restraint, and devastating emotional clarity. Emerging in the late 1970s, Hyman became known for ballads that explored longing, heartbreak, and self-worth with uncommon maturity. Songs like You Know How to Love Me and Living All Alone resonated deeply, especially with audiences who heard their own quiet struggles reflected in her phrasing. Despite critical acclaim and commercial success, Hyman's personal life was marked by chronic depression and bipolar disorder, conditions that were poorly understood and stigmatized during her career. While her music projected strength and poise, privately she battled feelings of isolation, exhaustion, and emotional pain. Industry pressure intensified these struggles, as expectations to perform and tour often outweighed concern for mental health. Hyman was candid about her illness later in life, speaking openly about hospitalization and medication. Yet access to consistent mental health care remained limited, and the demands of sustaining a career left little space for recovery. Financial stress and romantic disappointment compounded her emotional burden, reinforcing the sense that success had not delivered security. On June 30th, 1995, Phyllis Hyman died at 45 years old from an intentional overdose. Her death shocked fans who admired her grace, but it also forced difficult conversations about mental health in Black communities and the music industry. Phyllis Hyman's legacy is not defined by her death, but by her honesty. Her music continues to offer solace to listeners navigating loneliness and emotional fatigue. Remembering her truthfully means acknowledging that beauty, talent, and acclaim do not cancel pain, and that silence around mental health can be as deadly as illness itself. Bernard Edwards. Bernard Edwards was a rhythmic architect whose bass lines reshaped funk, disco, and modern R&B with precision and elegance. As the co-founder of Chic, alongside Nile Rodgers, Edwards helped craft a sound that married dance floor sophistication with musical discipline. His bass playing, clean, melodic, and relentlessly grooving, became the backbone of timeless records like Good Times, Le Freak, and Everybody Dance. Beyond chart success, Edwards' influence traveled far beyond disco. The bass line from Good Times was later reinterpreted in hip-hop's formative years, anchoring tracks that helped define an entirely new genre. This crossover impact cemented Edwards not just as a hitmaker, but as a foundational figure in popular music's evolution. His production work also extended to artists like Diana Ross in Sister Sledge, further broadening his legacy. Unlike many peers, Edwards was not defined by scandal or addiction. He was known as disciplined, focused, and deeply committed to musical craft. Yet his life ended suddenly. In 1996, while touring in Japan, Edwards fell ill after a performance and died shortly afterward from pneumonia-related complications. He was just 43 years old. The shock of his death rippled through the music world. Edwards was in a period of renewed creativity, mentoring younger artists and reasserting Chic's influence in a changing industry. His passing cut short a career that was still expanding in relevance. Bernard Edwards' story reminds us that loss in music is not always dramatic. It can be quiet, sudden, and just as devastating. His bass lines still move crowds worldwide, proving that rhythm, once created honestly, never disappears. Roger Troutman. Roger Troutman was a visionary who turned technology into emotion, transforming the talkbox into one of funk's most expressive instruments. As the leader of Zapp, Troutman fused synthesizers, groove, and vocal manipulation into a futuristic sound that became a cornerstone of 1980s funk and West Coast R&B. Songs like More Bounce to the Ounce and Computer Love redefined how voices could interact with machines. Troutman's influence extended far beyond his own records. His talkbox style became a blueprint for hip-hop and R&B artists, shaping the sonic language of later generations. From early rap collaborations to modern West Coast production, his fingerprints are unmistakable. Musically, Troutman represented optimism, technology as a tool for joy rather than distance. Behind the innovation, however, Roger Troutman's life ended in tragedy unrelated to drugs or illness. In 1999, he was fatally shot by his brother during a domestic dispute in Dayton, Ohio. He was 47 years old. The incident stunned fans and musicians alike, abruptly silencing a voice that symbolized celebration and creativity. Troutman's death underscored how personal conflict can cut short even the most influential careers. There was no public decline, no warning signs, only sudden loss. His music, however, continues to live loudly, sampled, referenced, and celebrated across genres. Roger Troutman's legacy is one of innovation and joy interrupted. He didn't just create a sound, he imagined a future. Remembering him means honoring both his creative brilliance and the fragile humanity behind it. Gerald Levert. Gerald Levert carried soul music in his voice, with an authority that felt both inherited and earned. As the son of Eddie Levert of the OJs, Gerald grew up surrounded by harmony, discipline, and expectation. He first rose to prominence as a member of Levert, delivering emotionally charged hits that blended classic soul sensibility with contemporary R&B polish. His voice, gritty, urgent, and unmistakably masculine, quickly set him apart. As a solo artist, Levert expanded his reach, scoring chart-topping albums and becoming one of the most reliable hitmakers of the 1990s and early 2000s. Songs like Casanova and Baby Hold On to Me showcased his ability to balance vulnerability with strength. Beyond performing, Gerald was a prolific songwriter and producer, shaping records for other artists and reinforcing his role as a behind-the-scenes force in modern R&B. In 2006, Gerald Levert died unexpectedly at 40 years old. The official autopsy concluded that his death resulted from accidental drug toxicity caused by a combination of prescribed medications interacting dangerously in his system. Importantly, there was no evidence of illicit drug abuse. The tragedy highlighted a quieter risk within the industry: unmanaged prescription use amid relentless schedules and chronic pain. Levert's passing shocked fans and peers alike, cutting short a career that showed no signs of slowing. His death sparked renewed conversations about medication safety and artist health, issues often ignored until too late. Gerald Levert's legacy endures through his recordings and collaborations, reminding us that even disciplined, successful artists can be vulnerable to invisible dangers. His voice remains a benchmark for modern soul, and his loss stands as a sobering reminder that protection must extend beyond the spotlight. Teena Marie. Teena Marie was a singular talent whose connection to Black music culture transcended genre and expectation. Known as the Ivory Queen of Soul, she emerged in the late 1970s with a sound deeply rooted in R&B and funk, guided early in her career by Rick James. Teena's vocal agility, songwriting depth, and fearless authenticity earned her respect in spaces where outsiders were rarely embraced. Her music balanced sensuality and spirituality, delivering hits like I Need Your Lovin' and Lover Girl. Teena was also fiercely independent, fighting for ownership of her masters and helping change contract practices for artists who followed. Her commitment to creative control made her as influential legally as she was musically. In her later years, Teena Marie faced significant health challenges. In 2010, she died suddenly at 54 years old. The coroner determined that she passed away due to complications from a seizure disorder, with no evidence of illegal substances involved. Persistent rumors of overdose were not supported by medical findings, underscoring the importance of accuracy over sensationalism. Teena Marie's death stunned the music community, particularly because she had remained creatively active and connected to her audience. Her loss felt abrupt and unresolved, a reminder that health risks do not always announce themselves. Teena Marie's legacy is one of courage, originality, and respect earned through truth. She bridged worlds without diluting her voice, leaving behind a catalog that continues to inspire artists across R&B and soul. Remembering her honestly means honoring both her innovation and the quiet vulnerability that accompanied her final chapter. Heavy D. Heavy D, born Dwight Arrington Myers, was a rare figure in hip-hop and R&B culture, an artist who balanced commercial success with warmth, humor, and genuine humanity. Rising in the late 1980s as the frontman of Heavy D and the Boys, he helped shape a more melodic, accessible form of hip-hop that comfortably crossed into R&B and pop spaces. Songs like Now That We Found Love and Somebody For Me dominated radio while maintaining dance floor credibility. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Heavy D was widely respected for professionalism and discipline. He expanded beyond music into acting, business, and executive roles, becoming president of Uptown Records and helping guide the careers of younger artists. His presence in the industry felt stabilizing, someone who understood longevity rather than chaos. In 2011, Heavy D's life ended suddenly at 44 years old. Initial speculation fueled rumors of drug involvement, but the official coroner's report concluded that he died from a pulmonary embolism caused by a blood clot traveling to the lungs. There was no evidence of illegal drug use contributing to his death. The shock came not from scandal, but from how quickly and quietly his life ended. Heavy D's passing was deeply felt because it contradicted expectations. He appeared healthy, active, and creatively engaged. His death reminded the industry that tragedy does not always follow visible decline. Heavy D's legacy lives in joy. He proved that success did not require self-destruction, and that kindness could coexist with influence. Remembering him means honoring a man who brought balance to an industry often defined by extremes, and whose absence is still felt in the spaces where music meets humanity. Natina Reed. Natina Reed was a rising R&B star whose promise was overshadowed by a series of personal struggles that ended in tragedy. As a founding member of the girl group Black, Reed emerged in the late 1990s during a period when female R&B groups were reclaiming mainstream attention. Black's debut album produced hits like 808 and positioned the group as youthful, stylish, and commercially viable. Behind the polished image, Reed faced ongoing instability. Legal troubles, financial stress, and personal setbacks disrupted her momentum as the group's activity slowed. Unlike artists protected by long-term infrastructure, Reed navigated adulthood without consistent industry support once the spotlight dimmed. Attempts to re-establish her career were complicated by unresolved challenges away from music. In 2012, Natina Reed died at 32 years old after being struck by a vehicle in Georgia. The incident was ruled a traffic accident, not foul play. At the time of her death, Reed was experiencing housing instability and personal hardship, details that underscored how fragile life can become when fame fades and support disappears. Reed's death drew renewed attention to how quickly young artists can fall through the cracks once commercial relevance declines. She was not untalented nor forgotten by fans, but she was unprotected by systems that profit early and disengage later. Natina Reed's story is one of interrupted potential. Remembering her honestly means acknowledging both her early success and the vulnerability that followed. Her life serves as a sobering reminder that artistic promise alone does not guarantee stability, and that silence often surrounds those who need help the most. Brenton Wood. Brenton Wood was a soul storyteller whose music captured youthful longing, optimism, and the fragile beauty of love. Emerging in the 1960s, Wood became best known for the classic hit, "Gimme Little Sign," a song that blended pop accessibility with R&B warmth. Its infectious melody and sincere delivery earned heavy radio rotation and made Wood a familiar voice during soul music's golden era. Unlike many artists driven by spectacle, Brenton Wood's appeal rested on subtlety. His vocals were conversational rather than overpowering, allowing listeners to feel as though the songs were speaking directly to them. This intimacy gave his music longevity, even when mainstream attention shifted toward louder, trend-driven styles in later decades. Despite commercial success, Wood never achieved the level of financial security many assumed accompanied a hit record. Like countless artists of his era, he faced unfavorable contracts and limited royalty control. As trends changed, opportunities narrowed, and his presence faded from the spotlight, though his music never truly disappeared. "Gimme Little Sign" continued to resurface in films, commercials, and playlists, introducing new generations to his sound. Brenton Wood lived into his later years, passing away in 2025 at 83 years old. His death marked the quiet closing of a chapter from a time when soul music thrived on sincerity rather than excess. Wood's legacy is not defined by chart dominance, but by emotional durability. His work reminds us that not all legends are loud. Some leave their mark through gentleness, honesty, and songs that feel timeless long after the industry has moved on. Sam Moore. Sam Moore was a powerhouse vocalist whose voice helped define the raw intensity of classic soul music. As one half of the legendary duo Sam and Dave, Moore delivered some of the most electrifying performances of the 1960s. Songs like "Soul Man," "Hold On, I'm Comin'," and "When Something Is Wrong with My Baby" became enduring anthems, blending gospel urgency with street-level emotion. Sam and Dave were known for their explosive stage chemistry, with Moore's soaring vocals providing emotional lift and dramatic tension. Their records became staples of Southern soul, crossing racial and cultural boundaries during a deeply divided era in American history. Moore's voice carried both pain and resilience, helping soul music speak honestly to working-class realities. Behind the scenes, Moore struggled for years with substance abuse, particularly during the height of his fame. Addiction disrupted his career and strained professional relationships, contributing to the duo's eventual breakup. Unlike many of his peers, Moore later entered recovery and became vocal about sobriety, using his experience to advocate for addiction awareness and support. In later life, Sam Moore experienced a renewed appreciation for his contributions, receiving honors that acknowledged his influence on soul, R&B, and rock music. He remained connected to fans and to the legacy he helped create. Sam Moore passed away in 2025 at 89 years old. His journey from explosive fame to struggle, recovery, and longevity stands as a testament to survival in an unforgiving industry. Remembering Sam Moore means honoring a voice that helped shape soul music's emotional language, and a life that proved endurance can be as powerful as talent. Jerry Butler. Jerry Butler, often called the Iceman, was a pillar of classic soul whose calm intensity reshaped how emotion could be delivered in R&B. Rising in the late 1950s as a founding member of the Impressions, Butler helped introduce a smoother, more reflective vocal style that contrasted with the era's rawer blues shouts. His early success laid the groundwork for a solo career defined by elegance, restraint, and lyrical depth. As a solo artist, Butler recorded enduring hits such as "He Will Break Your Heart" and "Only the Strong Survive," songs that explored vulnerability without sacrificing strength. His phrasing, measured, conversational, and deeply human, made heartbreak feel intimate rather than theatrical. Beyond performing, Butler became a prolific songwriter, collaborating with Curtis Mayfield and contributing to a catalog that influenced generations of soul and R&B artists. Unlike many peers whose stories are marked by excess, Butler's later life reflected evolution rather than collapse. He transitioned into public service, serving for years as a Cook County commissioner in Illinois, proving that artistry and civic responsibility could coexist. Health challenges eventually emerged, including Parkinson's disease, which he faced privately and with dignity. Jerry Butler died in 2023 at 83 years old. His passing closed a chapter on an era when soul music valued clarity and emotional truth over spectacle. Butler's legacy endures not through controversy, but through consistency, a voice that never needed to shout to be heard. Remembering him honestly means honoring a life that balanced creativity, integrity, and service. Gwen McCrae. Gwen McCrae brought warmth, sensuality, and resilience to soul music, delivering performances that felt lived in rather than polished. Emerging from the Miami soul scene in the early 1970s, McCrae achieved national recognition with "Rockin' Chair," a laid-back, groove-driven hit that reached the top of the R&B charts and became a defining record of its era. Her voice conveyed comfort and confidence, inviting listeners into a space of ease and emotional honesty. Throughout the 1970s, McCrae remained a reliable presence on soul radio, recording material that blended Southern warmth with contemporary rhythms. While mainstream pop fame proved elusive, her connection to audiences was enduring. She toured extensively and maintained a loyal following, particularly in Europe, where her music found renewed appreciation in later decades. In 2012, McCrae suffered a stroke that significantly affected her ability to perform and communicate. The event marked a sudden shift in her life, forcing her to step away from music and rely on long-term care. Unlike sensational narratives that surround many artists, McCrae's final years were defined by health challenges rather than scandal. Gwen McCrae died in 2025 at 81 years old. Her story reflects a quieter truth about the music industry. Not every legend exits in triumph or tragedy. Some leave through gradual silence. McCrae's legacy lives in grooves that still feel comforting and sincere, reminding us that soul music's power often lies in subtlety. Remembering her means honoring endurance, grace, and the beauty of songs that age gently with their listeners. Tommy Hunt. Tommy Hunt was a soulful voice whose career quietly bridged the golden age of doo-wop and classic R&B. Rising in the late 1950s, Hunt first gained recognition as a member of the Flamingos, one of the most influential vocal groups of their era. His smooth tenor can be heard on timeless recordings that help define harmony-driven soul and romantic balladry at a time when vocal groups dominated Black popular music. After leaving the Flamingos, Hunt embarked on a solo career that showcased a more intimate and expressive side of his artistry. His rendition of "I Just Don't Know What to Do With Myself" became a signature recording, earning lasting respect for its emotional restraint and sincerity. Unlike artists who relied on dramatic flair, Hunt specialized in subtlety, allowing phrasing and tone to communicate vulnerability. Although mainstream stardom remained limited, Hunt's work found deep appreciation overseas, particularly in the United Kingdom. He later became a respected figure in the Northern Soul movement, performing for audiences who cherished classic American soul with near-archival devotion. These late-career performances introduced his voice to new generations who valued authenticity over trend. Tommy Hunt lived a long life, passing away in 2025 at 91 years old. His career demonstrated that endurance in music does not always come from chart dominance, but from emotional honesty and consistency. Hunt's legacy lies in the quiet power of his voice, a reminder that soul music does not need spectacle to endure. Sometimes a single sincere performance can echo longer than decades of noise. Wayne Lewis. Wayne Lewis was a defining force behind Atlantic Starr, a group that helped shape sophisticated R&B from the late 1970s through the 1980s. As a co-founder and lead vocalist, Lewis brought clarity, control, and emotional polish to a sound that balanced romance with musicianship. His voice anchored the group's identity, particularly during an era when R&B increasingly crossed into pop territory. Atlantic Starr achieved widespread success with hits such as Always, Secret Lovers, and Circles. These songs dominated radio and became staples at weddings, quiet storm playlists, and adult contemporary formats. Lewis's vocal approach, smooth, measured, and emotionally grounded, allowed Atlantic Starr to stand apart from trend-driven acts and maintain longevity. Beyond performing, Wayne Lewis was instrumental in shaping the group's musical direction and stability. Atlantic Starr navigated lineup changes and shifting industry tastes without losing its core identity, a testament to leadership behind the scenes. While many groups fractured under pressure, Lewis helped preserve continuity and purpose. Wayne Lewis passed away in 2025 at 68 years old. His death marked the loss of a figure whose influence was felt more through consistency than controversy. There were no public scandals, no dramatic decline, only the quiet closing of a chapter in R&B history. Lewis's legacy lives in songs that continue to soundtrack love, reflection, and intimacy. Remembering him means acknowledging the power of steadiness in an industry often obsessed with extremes. His work reminds us that soul music thrives not only on intensity, but on balance and emotional precision. After hearing these stories, one question remains: were these legends lost by choice or by neglect? The industry made millions from their voices, yet many faced hardship, illness, or silence when they needed help the most. Is this the real cost of greatness? Or could these outcomes have been prevented with care, protection, and accountability? At Black Excellence Legends, we believe history should be remembered honestly, not comfortably. Now we want to hear from you. Which story moved you the most, and why? Share your perspective in the comments and keep the conversation alive, because these legends deserve more than silence.